Hello, Salam everyone. Welcome to Econometric and Research Gateway. Welcome to the lecture series of dealing with the panel data. Now, in today's discussion, we are going to talk about how we can apply different diagnostic tests using this data. Previously, we talked about how we can apply, how we can set the data as a panel and developing some panel data graphs. Afterwards, we talk about the development of the descriptive statistics and the correlation metrics. Later on, we talk about how we can apply the ordinary least square along with the variance information factor and the tolerance level. In the second lecture, we have discussed how we can apply the fixed and the random effect. And the later step, we talk about how we can compare between the fixed and the random effect. And in the last discussion of the lecture 2, we talked about how we can compare between the random effect and the ordinary least square. Now, in today's discussion, we are going to talk about how we can apply the cross-sectional dependence test for the panel data. Secondly, we talk about how we can check for the heteroskedasticity in the panel data. And thirdly, we talk about how we can check for the serial correlation as well. Okay. Before going further, it is very important to know that what does the cross-sectional dependence mean and how this exists in the data. First of all, we need to keep in mind the concern related to the cross-sectional data, cross-sectional dependence, mainly exists in the macro panel. Macro panel is that type of the panel data where we have a time period of over 20 or 30 years. For example, the data we are currently using having a time series of, you can say, from 1990 to 2020. So we have a time span of approximately 30 years, 31 years. Okay, so means that maybe in our data we can observe the concern related to the cross-sectional dependence. So for applying the cross-sectional dependence, we are going to talk about the two major tests. First of all, we will talk about the Breusch-Pagan Lagrange multiplier test of the independence. Secondly, we will talk about the Pasaran CD test. Okay. In the next phase, we will talk about how we can check for the presence of the heteroskedasticity or the homoskedasticity. Heteroskedasticity is basically a concern related to the variance of the residuals, which claims that the variance of the residual is not constant. Actually, the variance of the residual should remain constant over the time. Okay. So if the variance is not constant, means that there is an issue related to the heteroskedasticity. Last but not the least, we will talk about how we can test for the serial correlation. Normally, the serial correlation test apply again to the macro panel where we have a time series of over, you can say, 20 to 30 years, and same is the case with the current data which we are going to use. Secondly, the serial correlation, because of this presence of the serial correlation in the data, we can observe a smaller standard errors, which will actually cause a higher value of the R square. Means that serial correlation will be reflected in lower values of, you can say, the standard error of the coefficients, and subsequently it will increase the value of the R square. So again, I repeat, today we are going to discuss how we can check for the cross-sectional dependence. Later on we'll talk about testing for the heteroskedasticity, and later on we'll talk about how we can check for the serial correlation using the panel data in Stata 14. So now we have to move on. So guys, here comes the Stata. Here comes the Stata. First of all, what we have to do before applying the testing for the cross-sectional dependence, for this one, first of all, we need to apply the fixed effect model. So the command for the fixed effect is quite simple. I told you earlier, xtrect space our main dependent variable, which is CO2, followed by green innovation, EPS, GDP, green financing, FE. This is actually, you can say, the prerequisite for applying the cross-section dependence test. First of all, we need to run for the fixed effect, okay, and we need to press enter. Now these are the findings for, you can say, the fixed effect model. Now if we want to apply the Breusch-Pagan Lagrange multiplier test of the independence, the command is very simple, and the command is xtest 2. This is actually the command xtest 2, and we need to press enter. So After pressing this, after typing this command, we have the output. These are actually, you can say, the correlation matrix of the residuals, and you can just scroll down by clicking on the more option. Now, our main concern is related to the chi-square value and the probability value. So guys, if this chi-square value having a probability value of, you can say, highly significant at 1%, we can claim that there is a presence of cross-sectional dependence in the data. I repeat, if this chi-square value is highly significant at 1%, because this p-value is probability value is less than 1%, so we can claim that there is this presence of cross-sectional dependence in the data. So the Breusch and Pagan Lagrange multiplier test have proved that this data of, you can say, having a nature of macro panel exists with the presence of cross-sectional dependence. Okay. Now we can apply the Pasaran CD test for checking the presence of cross-sectional dependence. Means that we can just cross-verify our findings that whether the Pasaran test just justify what we previously have gone through. You can say the Breusch and Pagan Lagrange multiplier test. Okay. So for this one, the process is again quite simple, but we have to do simply the command is xtcsd, comma Pasaran abs. This is actually the command. I repeat, xtcsd, comma Pasaran abs, and we need to press enter. Now again we need to check the Pasaran test for the cross-sectional dependence. Here comes the test statistics of the Pasaran cross-sectional independence. Here comes the p-value. Again, the p-value is highly significant at 1%. Means that we can claim there is a presence of cross-sectional dependence in the macro panel data which we are using in our current analysis. So both of the tests, the Breusch-Pagan Lagrange multiplier test and the Pasaran CD test, both of these tests have proved that in our data there is a presence of cross-sectional dependence. Now in the second phase, what we have to check? We have to check for the presence of heteroskedasticity or not. Okay, so for this one, the process is quite simple, but we have to do the command is very simple. xtest3. So this command will check whether there is the presence of heteroskedasticity or the homoskedasticity. I told you what does the word mean, heteroskedasticity, whether it is actually currently prevailing in the data or not. So we need to type xtest3 and we need to press enter. Okay, guys, we can check that this is actually the chi-square value, and here comes the probability value. So this chi-square value having a probability value of less than means that this p-value is highly significant at 1%. Means that we can claim that there is a presence of heteroskedasticity in the data. Okay. Now in the last step, what we have to do, we have to test for the serial correlation. As I told you earlier, the issue of serial correlation mainly exists in the macro panel. Currently we are using the macro panel data, and because of the serial correlation we can experience with a lower standard deviation or standard error of the coefficients, which result in the higher R-square value. Okay, so the process for applying this testing for the serial correlation is very simple. The command is xtSerial followed by our variable. First of all, we need to type carbon emission followed by green emission followed by environmental policies agency, GDP and GF, and we need to press enter. Okay, the command is xtSerial followed by the list of the variables. Now we can find that the F statistics is 36.503 followed by the probability value of 0.00, which is highly significant at 1%. So this probability value is highly significant at 1%, means that there is a presence of serial correlation in the data. So guys, now this is the whole discussion related to how we can check the cross-sectional dependence, how we can check for the heteroskedasticity, and how we can check for the serial correlation in the macro panel. So thank you so much. Stay tuned for the next video.